again. Unpacking It podcast. Me, Jake, Robin, Nicholas, and my daughter's back again for another episode.
With a cat.
With our cat.
She is on my lap. Maybe.
So this episode, like we said, not all of our episodes are paranormal. It's just case files we're picking and then dissecting them apart, I guess. That's how you want to call it. This one here is called The Missing 411. I have this one classified as Hunters. There will be, I'm hoping to do another one somewhere down the road for The Missing 411, but it involves children. And that one's, I don't want to say a touchy subject, but it's, I don't know, at least for me it cuts a little closer to home or whatever, because it's going to deal with like a lot of like 2-3-year-old kids or whatever, stuff like that. So I'm like, we'll see how this goes. That's why I have this one about hunters. And again, this was tailored for you, sir. I know you like watching the missing, or the 48.
Yeah.
You like watching those?
The first 48.
First 48, that's what it is. You like watching those? So I'm like, this is going to be something more tailored to you. Missing persons. Now, it is more unexplained missing persons. Again, does not have to be paranormal, but the circumstances behind their disappearances, there goes to be a lot. There's at least one case in here that if you can come up with a reason of how he disappeared, by all means, because like
join the FBI.
Yeah, no, there is actual FBI agents that they've gone, we didn't go this way, we didn't go this way, we didn't do this, why did we do this? Nothing matches anything we did, and there was no explanation ever found of why it happened the way it did.
I can't read ahead. I don't have a copy.
No, there is no.
God
usually you guys have your folders, but no, there's too much here. Like
because
this,
that's what I did with your last packet. I read ahead on the whole thing and then just sat there.
I'm going to say there's 55 pages in this, so this will be at least 2 episodes, possibly more. So, the missing 411 cases are
Is the rep, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care if you agree or not.
Freya's
He's the
climbing
rep.
into your
I
lap.
don't know what we're doing here.
You will have pictures. I do have pictures as this
I
goes
do like
on.
pictures.
You will get...
Be careful she doesn't try and step on the laptop.
Not a measures.
Alright, missing 411 cases are classifications that documents missing person cases that fit a number of criteria. So not everyone who goes missing is a missing 411. So the disappearances have occurred in a national park, a rural area, or a large reserve of public land. Exceptionally odd circumstances surround the disappearance. Mental illness or voluntarily disappearance does not appear to be the cause. Like they didn't do it on their own. It's literally unexplainable. Now, the term 411 actually has its origins in an inconspicuous computer term that refers to data that cannot be found or a corrupted link. It is certainly an apt metaphor for the state of these individuals who have vanished. Now, this all originates from an individual, Dave Pallades. He has done 3 documentaries, I believe, now. There's the Missing 411 Hunters, Missing 411 referencing to children, and then I want to say there's the Missing 411, he goes into UFOs. He also has a series of books, too. So, missing people in the USA or across the world are an unfortunate but regular occurrence. In fact, with as many as 90,000 people declared legally missing in America at any given time. It is hard to ignore the issue. However, stories of missing 411 victims do not take place only in rural areas. David Pallades, an investigator who spent 20 years of his life as a police officer, has uncovered a number of puzzling trends. Now, a little bit about him. David has received his undergraduate and graduate degrees from the University of San Francisco in 1977. He began a 20-year career in law enforcement, transferring in 1980 to San Jose Police Department, working in the patrol division, patrol and street crimes unit, and variety of assignments in the detective division. While working as a court liaison officer in December 1996, Pallades was charged with a misdemeanor count of falsely soliciting for a charity. Now, I put this in here because there's enough people who like discrediting his investigation work that he's done and like his opinions that he brings up about it that I'm like, this is the one splinter, I guess, that you could give credence to, that they go, well, he tried to solicit for a charity and it was all just like a sham and blah blah blah. I'm like, he was corrected for it. It was a mistake. He owns up to it. It's not like he tries to hide it or whatever. But that's something that's in there that they bring up. Well, one wrongdoing, so now he's trying to scam everybody and everything else. As it goes on, at least in my opinion, as his career goes on, he's very transparent with everything else. So, after leaving the police force, Pallades wrote books on the topic of Bigfoot, as well as on the disappearances of people in national parks and elsewhere, which he attributes to unspecified, unknown causes. Now, some of the big books he did is the Hoopa Project, Bigfoot Encounters, he wrote in 2008, Tribal Bigfoot in 2009. It would be these books that would bring him to the attention of 2 park rangers, and that's what would contribute to our missing 411. So following his work on Bigfoot, Pallades' next project was Missing 411, a series of self-published books and 3 documentary films documenting unsolved cases of people who have gone missing in national parks and elsewhere. So according to Pallades, his work on this subject began when he was doing research in a national park and an unnamed off-duty park ranger approached him and expressed concern about the questionable nature of some of the missing person cases which occurred in the park. Now, the ranger knew Pallades' background and asked him to research the issue. At first, Pallades objected, but then obliged, and asserts that he uncovered multiple lines of evidence suggesting negligence on the part of the Park Service in failing to locate missing people. It wasn't like we jumped the gun and said, well, it was this, it was this, it was this. We took it from the investigative eye that, why didn't we investigate further? Because in a lot of, you've watched your first 48, how we like go through a series and do all the investigations. And what David found, a lot of times what we should have done, and we can attribute to just inexperience, the basics of our search we didn't do, and we waited too many days and too long. Why did you do that? And you couldn't find anything. Well, no wonder you couldn't find anything. It was like, we found out plain out human error, but nobody wanted to admit to that. So, he broadened his investigation to include missing people from across the world, not just the national parks in the United States, and this led to his belief that he has uncovered a mysterious series of worldwide disappearances, which he said defied logical and conventional explanation. As a retired law enforcement officer, Pallades takes interest in the way government agencies document missing 411 cases. Unfortunately, there is no centralized database for missing people, and many parks do not even document disappearances specifically in their own parks. Instead, it goes to the National Missing Persons Registry, at least in the U.S. This protocol has its drawbacks because the nature of the disappearances in the wilderness tend to be quite different than those of urban centers, where cars and other forms of transportation mean that an abductee can be hundreds of miles away within a few hours. You'll see references to that in some of these missing persons, where we go missing here miles from where. If you're in a city, yeah, you can get picked up, dropped off. When you're talking about trails, back roads, well, no roads, in fact, at all, how are they literally moving? There's one individual that within just a few hours is refound in 11 miles. How is that happening? So national parks, however, do not allow for this, especially when factoring potential challenges to the victim, such as age, experience in the outdoors, and lack of equipment, clothing, or supplies for extended duration in the elements. Also, the geography of these areas is mountainous and just plain difficult terrain. So now, these are some of the books that he actually read. Like I said, there's 3 documentaries, but those are 4 or more of his books that he actually has written. I wanted to try to get a copy one day for a couple of them, but they're thick books. They are very expensive.
Did they not have any at Barnes & Noble?
No, actually, no. I did look when we were there, and Barnes & Noble did not have it.
Write a title down, I'll get it.
No, I'll
Okay,
take
you
it,
don't have
baby.
to. But no, there's plenty in there. So the vast majority of these strange disappearances occurred on clearly marked and popular hiking trails. It's not like we're out in the middle of nowhere unseeing, like Oregon Trail blazing. These are spots that you could literally go now and nothing could even happen to you. So, additionally, victims are often proficient outdoorsmen and or women, hikers and hunters who know the backwoods well. Pallades has dedicated nearly a decade of his life to the research of the 411 cases and has written a series of books on the subject. However, he has never suggested a cause. He just researches. So that's why I thought you would enjoy this, because he researches, looks at the facts, and doesn't tell you it's aliens, it's Bigfoot. We're just looking at, just give me an answer. Although there are both national and even international examples of far older cases, David Pallades' efforts to synthesize records apply to recent history. His work focuses on an analysis of case files acquired through the Freedom of Information Act. Subsequently, with his methodical compilation of data, he identifies trends. This is a map of the hotspots. Those dots do not represent just one person going missing. The bigger the dot, the more spots.
Yep.
Like you can see here in California, this is, I don't think I have that one in. I might, I'm not sure. But that's the one that has over like 25 missing persons. That'll meet this criteria. So it's like, it's spread out all over. Now, there is a map that goes along with it that I won't spend too much time on it, but it just delves in a little bit to like the underground tunnel theory under the United States, that there's like tunnels that run through the whole thing. A map was put up in comparison to his hotspots, and the hotspots do, like you said with a lot of things, you see what you want to see.
Yeah.
But the maps do fit very well over where the locations of where known entrances and exits are to these underground tunnels. So that was just like a little fact into that. So what classifies as a missing 411? So the criteria for any disappearance either has all of these or at least half of them. You have a point of separation where you and I are walking through the woods and you decided to go one way, I decided to go that way. From that point, it can be within seconds that I turn around and you're gone or I'm gone, vice versa. The time of the disappearance, there's usually boulders in the field or near water. There is also a weather event immediately before or immediately after. Disabilities or illness of a victim when they are found. Canines, this is a big one that happens in almost 90% of the time. Canines, when they go looking for the people, cannot track them. So when you send search and rescue dogs out, they have their clothing, they can smell it, they start going and chasing after them, and then they hit like they were just, they're gone. They cannot find a single thing. If they are found, they're found in a previous area searched that has been covered multiple times. They have scoured it top to bottom, and then that's exactly where they find them. Victim is missing clothing, unknown cause of death if they are found deceased, and they are connected with the geographical clustering that I have over there. So now this is going to be the first one, and these are all, I'll spread these out so you can all see them. I have them marked. Sis, you may have to like stand up to see them, because I got a bunch. This is where I kind of wanted to do the
You already
screen.
looked at them? You already know what they look like?
I know what they look like. I'm going to use them as reference points, so just try to keep them. Where's 1, 2? No, keep them like that so I can see. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then 4. That'll work like that. So, the first case we have is Tom Messick. Age 82. He was reported missing November 15th, 2015. Location, northeastern Upper New York. Now, his background: Tom served in the U.S. Army as a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division. He was 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighed approximately 160 pounds. He was an experienced hunter and woodsman and taught hunter and survival skill training for many years. So he had all of this prior knowledge that he was even teaching younger hunters to move forward. He had a history of heart problems, however, and lost an eye in an accident with an explosive device in his early 20s. So yes, he had the accident. He had poor vision and limited hearing, but he had adapted to it, so it's not like it was something brand new. He also had 159 stitches in his hand. He had also just gotten over a case of the shingles and nearly decided not to go on this annual hunting trip.
Wow, his life sounds horrible.
It didn't happen all at once. I mean, we all have stuff.
It would have
but
sucked
yes.
if it happened at once, my god.
So, this is the hunting trip at Brant Lake that they go to in Upper New York. This is the main lake. Their camp is over here. So, Tom lived in the city of Troy in New York State and was out that Sunday with 6 friends and family members who were hunting near Lily Pond in an area of the state land that is part of the Lake George Wild. This Lily Pond. So this is the Brant Lake. This is the Lily Pond that they went to. So in reference, their camp is still out of there. They would drive to the lake and then come down here to the pond. So the older members of the group, 4 of them were watchers in a strategic position that sat along a log or similar comfortable spot and were in a vertical line, whilst the younger hunters used the path around the lake to drive the deer to the watchers as part of the drive. So you can see here, or this one here, we have the height of the mountain. And this is them all being lined up. Now, how they set up their line was they went about 300 yards in length, give or take, 100 yards between each man. So we have Al, then Sid, then we go another 100 yards, so on and so forth. After they lined up, they were all to walk about 30 or 40 yards into the woods and sit down and wait for the deer. This road here is just a regular dirt road. It's not overgrown. I've seen pictures and the videos from it. It's well maintained. It would be no different than going to down to Raystown or whatever, some of those roads. Mm-hmm. And then you're just at the edge of the woods. Now just walk roughly 30, 40 yards, which is not far at all. You're not even going half the length of a football field. And you're just sitting in on there. And it was for the point that these guys were older. That way we can come pick them back up when we're done. Since the mid-1880s, Brant Lake had been a popular fishing and hunting area among wealthy visitors, including Theodore Roosevelt. Brant Lake Camp was incorporated by R.B. Gerstang, J.E. Elberly, and John F. Malroy in 1970. So, heavily used area. This is not out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you can feel secluded, but it's not. There's people coming back and forth. After 55 years of hunting with lifelong friends, also senior men at the Messick Hunting Camp in Hogg, they decided to try this area for the first time. Tom was supposed to stay in one spot as group members walked through the woods to push deer towards him. But when they arrived at where they were supposed to be, he was gone, without a trace of him or his belongings. No sign of any deer was found that day. He wore duck boots, camouflage pants and coat, gloves, and a red and black checkered hat he had worn for many years. He had carried a rifle and a walkie-talkie. He was last seen at 10 a.m. when Messick did not show up at the agreed-upon time. His friends called forest rangers, and they searched from 4:30 till it got dark around 7 p.m. And at that point, half the group stayed, fired their rifles, and honked car horns to attract Tom to the area. The remaining men left the scene and reported him missing to the family and the authorities. The day after Tom had disappeared on November 16th, the search started with 13 trained SAR professionals from the Park Service. It was well organized from the start. Okay, that's in there. A huge search over several weeks involving more than 300 professionals and volunteers on some days, assisted by dogs, divers, and several helicopters, found no clues, including no sign of his rifle or walkie-talkie. More than 4 square miles were searched, with a larger area being searched by air with the aid of a helicopter from the State Police Aviation Unit. More than 15 agencies were involved, including the DEC Forest Rangers, DEC Police Canine Unit, DEC Police Officers, the FBI Quick Response Team, a State Police Special Operations Response Team, the Warren County Sheriff's Officer Tactical Team, and volunteers from the New York State Federation of Search and Rescue Team. So the weather was poor with heavy rain, but sniffer dogs were deployed before the worst of the rain arrived. Searchers walked through the woods, including swamps, no matter how thick they were, and checked nearby roads, but they were absolutely nothing. Areas were tied off with strings to box off specific areas, allowing detailed search of every grid zone. It was described as a spider's web of string in the forest. In the documentary, when you watch it, they have both the officer who was involved and his son who helped in the investigation. So the area that he goes missing, they coordinate it off, run the string. So they have stringers that go through. Then within those strings, you just search within that string back and forth. After they did that, then they kept the string there, ran the string the other way. So you literally could not miss. You were more like concerned of tripping over stuff. So like you're not going to miss anything. Many would say that it was the governor's brother who was lost, for how many people and resources had been involved. Given his age, searchers were baffled as he could not have gotten far from his original location, and some said it was weird that there were no sounds of wildlife whilst the SAR teams were in operation, almost like something had silenced the woods. The search area had many caves, crevices, and other hazards. Could he have somehow fallen into one of these? For a man of his age, was he mobile enough? Why were there no clues on the ground despite the methodical grid search? Now,
Maybe he got in a helicopter.
very well could have been. So, foul play. Is that a possibility? So,
What does that mean?
surprisingly, the FBI, foul play is like a murder. Surprisingly, the FBI arrived on the 4th day, on November 19th. This was unusual, as the FBI never usually gets involved in these types of missing person cases unless they fall under the federal jurisdiction. E.g., they happened on federal land, or it was believed a kidnapping was involved. So if they don't believe that it doesn't fall like into a kidnapping, abduction, or whatever, the FBI won't come out for every random person. Tom's wife Beverly said, and quote, "The FBI told me something isn't right with his case, but they don't know what. They won't share any theories if they have them. The FBI said until they make a discovery, they're never going to know." End quote. But subsequently, investigators said that there have been no indications of foul play. David Winchell, a spokesman for the DEC, said rangers continued to search the area on a limited, continuous basis since a wide-scale ground search ended in January of 2016. That means that to this day, rangers check the area periodically for evidence or clues. Events after the disappearance. In the summer of 2018, state police used sniffer dogs trained to detect cadavers to go through portions of the woods and fields near where Messick disappeared. State police investigators John Dayett said no clues were found, but the police investigation was ongoing. In 2019 movie Missing 41100, David does have one of the participants in the group give a interview to describe the events of the day. So this is where Tom is, and the next part of this interview is going to be in reference to this area here above the hill. So you have the younger boys, which I say younger boys, they were like in their 30s, 40s in there. They're back here driving the line up. The older men are sitting here, but what the sound that I'm going to reference is going to come from this area here. So he was investigating one of the gentlemen that was there, Sid, and Sid reported, and he said he had told this to police, but police paid it no mind. Being that the woods were so quiet, and this is the only thing you heard, this is a question of why didn't we give it a little bit more credence. I heard a strange noise in the woods, but I don't know what it was. Just a different noise from what I usually hear, you know. It'd be hard to explain because it was different. Something different that I'd never heard before in the woods. I just can't say what it was, you know. I'd say it was probably 150 yards or something like that. This was up towards the hill, the top of the hill. Yeah, I told the police that, but they just passed it off, you know. So Tom's disappearance is yet another bizarre case. Tom just vanished off the face of the planet. He was elderly, but an experienced backwoodsman. A tough guy, an ex-paratrooper, and not one to wander off into the woods when on a hunt. He had a rifle, a walkie-talkie, and no sign of them had ever been found in the massive search area. Including all the inaccessible parts, including water and caves, it was so big a search that locals thought someone high profile or famous, like I said, like a politician, was involved. The sniffer dogs nor FLIR equipment helicopters were able to find any trace. Was he snatched from Lake George Wild Forest by a serial killer or something else? Or did he just choose to disappear suffering from dementia or terminal disease? So what happened to him?
Helicopter.
The what?
Helicopter.
The helicopter hauled him out. Now, in correlation to his disappearance, he disappeared. Let me go back to my notes. On November 15th. Now, of that same year, that's what this map is for. Messick's search area is going to be up here. Mm-hmm. The next one is going to happen literally 40 miles just a few weeks later. This is Fred Drum, age 68, missing on November 24th, 2015.
Are all these guys ancient?
That is a good question.
Well,
No, not all of them, no. The first couple, and that's why I said, like, age can play a factor into it, they're elderly or whatever, but no, not all of them are. But then that grows to
Would
the
you
fact-
rather them all be midgets?
Midgets? I mean, either way. Old people, midgets.
But that goes into they're elderly, so they shouldn't be moving that quickly. So if you disperse people to go find them, they shouldn't be that far that you can't track them down.
Are you making fun of old people's speed?
No, I'm not making fun of old people's speed. I'm just stating a fact that you should be able to find them.
Right? So I put Grandpa here.
You put in there.
Now
So
he's not here.
He doesn't have his cane. I know he doesn't walk well in the house with the cane, so he shouldn't be that great without the cane.
Because he's what, 86 years old?
Fred, not Fred, but Tom.
Yeah,
I
the
think
first
so.
guy?
Or 82.
82.
Yeah, so no, he's up there, and he's got one eye. I mean, yes,
He has a bunch of stitches in his
dealt
hand.
with that over the year. He's like just gotten over being sick or whatever. So I'm like, we're not a sprinter. We're not ambitious. So why are we not flying? Like, there was no broken twigs found. There was no tracks found. And with it had raining, so you should pick something up. So even if someone did pick him, like, where did they pick him up? There was no clothing, nothing ever found. His wife, in the documentary when I watched it too, I remember seeing that he would keep like candy bars, which hunters usually do for like a snack, power boost or whatever. She said, made the comment of how he wouldn't like be disrespectful and leave trash or whatever. If an animal got him, torn clothing, remains, where would be like the leftover wrap or whatever. Like there is, where did he go? So with Fred, still in Upper New York, the details of his disappearance: Drum was last seen in Schuylkiville, New York, sometime between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. We do have a 2-hour gap. He was home alone at his residence on Burgoyne Road that day. He apparently went for a walk on his 170-acre property, which is about near Fish Creek, and never returned home. He was reported missing by his family the next day after his family couldn't find him. He is believed to have taken his wallet, which contained his debit card and New York driver's license, but his vehicle was left behind. Drum was recently retired at the time of his disappearance. He was the caretaker for a property across the street from his own, and he was also a member of the Saratoga Town Board. But he had declined to run for re-election. His term was set to expire at the end of the year. He and his wife planned to travel in their retirement. Since he went missing, there has been no activity on his bank account or credit cards or any other indication that he is still alive. His case remains unsolved. So are the two connected is what David raises up in his question. Since they're within 40 miles, and it's, some would say, well, if it's just 40 miles, that's not that much. But when you have it happen within just a few weeks, or just in a few days, I should say, could this have been an abduction of some type? And like with the FBI one, they weren't saying there was anything officially wrong. But then why did you show up? Because you don't just show up for missing persons. And Tom wasn't like the high profile figure. Like I said, so many people were sent out. So why did we scramble and think something was...
Probably a serial killer.
Right. So that's my question, and that's what David brings up, is like, somebody knows something,
Yep.
but we're not being like very transparent about it. So what is going on that this stuff's stirring up? So let me get the maps out for this one. And for everybody listening,
But
go ahead.
From what I read, throughout America, at least, I don't know what the number was, but 150 serial killers throughout America every single day active. So,
yeah, no, it's true. I will have pictures on the Instagram and other sites. That way you guys can have these too for what I'm showing everybody. So this one is for Santa Fe National Park. This one's where we get a little bit more mystery, and there's reasonable explanation that can be added into it just for you. But we'll see how it goes. This is Audrey Kaplan. She is up there in age, but be kind. She's 75. But she's an outdoorsy person. Kaplan and her husband, Norman, were at a wilderness gate on the Windsor Trail at about 10:30 a.m. Now, this happens on July 30th, 2014. Now, she is going to be one that they do find her. Unfortunately, she will be deceased, but they do find her.
How unfortunate.
So, you say that so happily.
I'm dealing with a child.
Wednesday morning, when she wanted to take a short hike towards Aspen Peak, her husband decided to wait. When she didn't return by 12:15 p.m., he and some other hikers began looking for her.
I blame the husband.
Her and her husband were together, but then they separated and they were on their own.
I still blame him.
Okay, then you blame him. So down here in this M10, that's the point of separation. And then you're going to see where they will eventually find her. So, after an hour and a half, Norman decided something was up and returned to his car in the ski area parking lot. Kaplan drove down the ski area road until he could get cell phone service and called in a missing person report. He did not wait very long. I said about an hour and a half, so it's not like we waited days. Something was off. Dixon said 75 to 80 people helped with the search each day, including wildlife firefighters, the sheriff posse, the National Guard, Attila Search and Rescue, and even some researchers from out of state. Tracking dogs and helicopters were once again used in this investigation. Search and rescue crews found the body Monday of Kaplan, who had been missing in the Sangria Cristo Mountains since Wednesday. Now, these pictures are blurred out for what I'm going to read next, but it's just blurred so you can at least see.
I can't see shit with that.
You can't see the body, but in here this is a small stream that we're laying in, so we're in water. That I need you to take note of. State police confirmed that Monday night that the body found about 2 miles north of the Santa Fe Ski Basin, so she was found over 2 miles from her point of separation, would be that of Audrey Richmond Kaplan. She would be found laying in a stream of 5 to 4 inches of water in a fetal position. She was completely nude. This was chalked up to being the cause of having hypothermia. So I looked in for reference to this, of why do we find some individuals not clothed? So hypothermia is a condition where the levels of sodium in the body are excessively low. It can be caused by drinking too much water, severe dehydration, no salt diets, or other factors. Symptoms include nausea, vomiting, fatigue, muscle cramps. While there's no direct evidence linking hypothermia to people removing their clothes, the condition can cause confusion and other symptoms that may affect their behavior. So they may feel like they're getting...
You said dehydration. That is not what that says.
Severe diarrhea, my bad. They may get the sensation that they're like feeling on fire, so they want to remove their clothes. Now, after the medical examiner determined her cause of death for their report, this was their findings. Although there are no specific autopsy findings indicating hypothermia, the circumstances of Miss Kaplan's death and lack of fatal disease at autopsy support cold exposure due to very low temperatures at night. Given that there is no report of the deceased's face being in the water when found, no circumstances documented to support that it had been in the water, it is unlikely that drowning played a role. That's according to the coroner.
Okay.
She was found in the water. According to him, she wasn't even near water.
Okay.
So there's like a miscue right there. And this is just like the information that was gathered up. So the findings support that Miss Kaplan got lost while hiking, becoming dehydrated, and died of hypothermia. With accelerated loss of body heat from being wet, either from thunderstorm rain or immersion in the stream. There were no injuries that caused or contributed to her death, but she was found in water. And that's when they bring it up in interviews when they were talking about her. You're eliminating any form of drowning. So if you have proof that she didn't drown, she wasn't in any body of water or whatever, but her body was found in it. And 4 or 5 inches of water, that's a healthy amount of water.
I know you can drown in that.
And she wasn't like sitting up, propped up or whatever. She's in that. How are you not finding anything? One theory that someone said is, however she passed, someone then put her there. So then, yes, you wouldn't have had traces of that's what caused her to pass. But then that means that there was foul play amongst that. But then it goes back then, how did she die? Because there was no animal markings, no mutilations, no strangulations, nothing like that. It's literally she just...
But some people, when they're confused, they get in shock, right?
True, yes, go ahead.
And shock can kill you. It depends on, You know what I mean?
No, you'll have to explain. What, just being in shock?
When you're shocked, your body reacts to you being in shock, trying to get you out of shock, right?
Oh, okay, yes.
So, high blood pressure, The whole 9 yards. You know what I'm
Okay.
trying to say?
So what are you saying?
So
Like
if
when
there's
she was
If there's the high blood pressure, I don't know, how old was she?
75, I believe I said.
78, 68? Or
No,
whatever.
she was in the 70s.
Around 70. But, you know, it's not very good for your heart either. All of a
Okay.
sudden.
Gotcha. Now I did gather a little bit of information for the hypothermia to like go along with it. Hypothermia is a medical emergency caused by prolonged exposure to very cold temperatures, and the body loses heat faster than it can produce. Normal body temperature is about 98.6 degrees. When a body temperature drops below 95, it is considered hypothermic, which it's 3 degrees. You drop 3-degree body core temperature and you're already hypothermic. The onset of hypothermia can occur slowly, and it can affect the brain. So many people have hypothermia and are not aware of it. How long, I guess this goes in reference to what you were saying, how long it takes to die from hypothermia depends on several factors, including whether or not the cold exposure is in air or water, how cold temperatures are, and the person's underlying health and age. Depending on the conditions, hypothermia can occur within minutes to hours or slowly over days or weeks. That was a question I had for like some of these, that they happen like very fast, very long. So this kind of answered my question in that. In the air, hypothermia can develop in as little as 5 minutes in temperatures of minus 50 degrees in people who are not dressed properly and have exposed skin. At negative 30 degrees, hypothermia can occur in about 10 minutes. Death can then occur in under an hour in extreme cold conditions. Now, people die of hypothermia faster in water than in air because water has a higher thermal conductivity that can cool a person at least 24 times faster than air. A person who is immersed in near freezing water at temperatures of 32.5 degrees will have symptoms of mild hypothermia in under 2 minutes and will be unconscious in less than 15 minutes, with an expected survival time of 15 to 45 minutes. Possibly with what you were saying, for some reason, she became overheated, stripped down, and she couldn't cool herself, sat in the water, and then it was the shock, like what you had said with the shock. Now, I went over some of the, or got some of the symptoms of
Isn't it that
hypothermia.
when you're getting too cold, your body is trying to warm you.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it uses all the energy.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
So
good.
she thought,
homeostasis.
Yes.
getting too warm, get
Mhm.
undressed, lay in the water to cool down because she was hot. And
Right.
no idea. Yep.
So like what you were saying, like it needed that shock. She sat in, tried to warm up, and that could explain the fetal position then of
Yep.
how she got in there. Like she was sitting there shivering.
What's the
and-
autopsy say? No.
That's just it.
Like,
The
wouldn't there
auto-
be signs?
well, that's
Okay,
my
but the
question.
The problem I have with autopsies,
Yes, no.
those people are elected. About how you call them?
Look,
Morticians?
the coroners?
Yeah, the coroners. They are elected, aren't they? They are
No,
elected.
you apply for a coroner's
No,
job.
you are elected as a coroner.
Oh, that I don't. That I have no information
So
on that.
even you can,
So you saying cover up?
no cover up, but I can be a coroner as long as enough people vote on me. Then I can be a coroner.
I'm pretty sure you have to go. to
No,
school.
you have to go to school to.
Well, but you get voted like a sheriff and like a.
Well, I wouldn't
Isn't it?
doubt. Okay. I will say wholeheartedly, I don't know if they vote or not for a coroner. That I don't know, but you do have to go to medical school to have the information to because
It's
a coroner
elected.
is it elected?
I looked it up. Is the coroner or medical examiner position elected? Yes.
Okay, but you still what's
still have to have
what's
a
the
degree.
qualifications? Why don't you look
I
that
mean-
up? What are the qualifications?
Okay.
for-
Terms
I
of
can-
office, term of office, and training.
Okay, so you have to have training though.
Okay, but
Hang on. There's how to become a coroner.
so
I never knew that. That's fact. That's
oh yeah, but like a sheriff is elected.
well, share.
Doesn't make sense.
Okay, they typically require some form of education, some formal education, preferably with a background in medicine or criminology, and relevant certifications from boards like American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigators.
Preferably.
So you're saying that the coroner may not have been trained. Okay. No, I will wholeheartedly.
Or in a
go
high
with
school
that.
Like if that's the
diploma.
case, like, there's a problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a major issue with coroners then
Yes, we
because
do.
that can't be allowed.
No, but
No, because
you guys didn't know they were elected?
I honestly
I didn't
did
know
not
that
know
part, but still, you have to have some kind of like.
Okay, but
I
you said-
mean, maybe that's me being naive. I take it for like when you have, because you think of a sheriff or something, they're trained, they go to police school and everything. A coroner, you're responsible for handling an investigation. You're a part of that, and you've got to like know you need to know the roadmap around a body of. So how do you know what to look for of what's wrong and what's right?
I get it, but
Like, it's
like she
literally
said-
your job to like pronounce how this person died. And
Right.
you're telling me you have to have no schooling or anything.
preferably,
So then, I mean-
like she said, preferably, some.
I don't know how you get the job without having any.
Right.
No, but
Like,
it's like everywhere else.
I know my calling.
He seemed like he knew his way around that stake, so he can go around that body pretty good.
I thought your calling was the midget farm.
Yeah, you gotta be
Many
a midget
callings in
corner.
life.
Midget corner.
I think
50%
Freya
here,
would still live with you.
50% there, another 2 more 50% down the road.
But yeah, I mean, you guys
Okay.
didn't know they were elected. Like,
No,
everything.
wholeheartedly did not know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You're the one that jumped
I-
down, honey.
But
No.
you can be a corner.
Like I said, I take it. Then that's me. That I take it for granted that
No,
the
I
person
mean,
taking
I know
care
it's all
of the dead
good.
body
I
knows
mean,
what the
hey,
heck
it's all
they're
good,
doing.
but
I wonder if a lot more people know that because, like, I've always heard like you always hear. I will say in like
the anthropologists, who
yeah,
study the bones.
yeah.
Okay, they go to school for that.
So they have more experience than a
Yes.
coroner. Then that's insane to me.
So somebody's going to tell me if it's natural causes of murder. Doesn't know. What
No.
the hell
There are
they're
so
doing?
many investigations then they're a complete waste of time then because if you don't have someone who has
Yes. Yes.
well, he
I don't
actually-
believe it.
he
Something has to be wrong here.
He's actually getting me now.
Blame the
Like-
government. Problem solved.
Well, I won't read them, but here, like, there's a bunch of, you can look over it if you want, or I can sit up here. That's, like, the symptoms of hypothermia. There's a bunch of them in there.
But I'm
From-
surprised you guys didn't know.
No, I did not know.
Might as well just throw
apathy.
those papers out because it don't matter.
Yeah,
apparently.
it obviously does not matter. So then why even have them then? If,
What
like,
is apathy?
I mean, 9 out of 10. Yes, 9 out of 10, those coroners have medical background. Yes. But you don't have to. I can be a dishwasher at a Waffle House.
so it's not mandatory. And like, no, I'm glad
Preferably.
I'm glad you said that. Yes, majority very well do have their experience and whatever.
Absolutely.
But it is not a requisition.
No, it's not a criteria.
I didn't. Because how many times I hear like women talk about like they'd love to be like in a coroner's position, do those. I'm like, then apply because obviously it doesn't matter
No.
if you know how to wake up in the morning. You can be one.
Yeah.
So you just got to find the right person to vote you in.
Yeah. Even a sheriff, if you look good in the uniform,
Well,
you can get
no, I don't
elected.
want to reference it to a sheriff because a sheriff that I knew was political. I did know that, but
But the coroner, yeah.
Here's an idea. Some type of drugs can cause hypothermia.
yes,
So she could have been on one of those drugs, and then since it was a hot day, it like mixed the hypothermia with the heat. So like
Right.
it says in the symptoms, she got confused, so she got in the water.
well, because that's the other thing is with her disappearance, she was only 2 miles from her separation. That's it, and that was 2
Okay,
miles
but-
by air, not by trail.
Okay, but what time of year? How hot was it during the day? Now too. Between day and night, how many degree difference? 20, 25
No,
degrees
true.
difference?
You're very true
So
on that, yes.
the quicker the hypothermia comes.
Right, because
I
they did
assume,
say
I
it
get-
being. I
I
think
assume.
her disappearance was in July. I think it had.
Oh, okay.
But that's what someone had said before that being. Yeah, it was in July, end of July.
Okay then.
That we went
But
from
still.
extreme temperatures. That it was really hot during the day.
Yeah.
She became dehydrated, whatnot. But it's like
And then all of a sudden getting cold.
right, and then. No, maybe you had it with like, why is there no evidence of how she died? Well, inexperience in the office.
Yeah, could be.
That because that's what stood out on me. I'm like, we literally in the report want to blatantly say had nothing to do with water, blah blah blah. Yet she was found in water.
Okay, but
We're getting close to about like 10 minutes
Okay.
left.
okay. When you lay in the bathtub, right?
Right.
Your one hand is in the bathtub, the other hand is above the water. Sorry.
Right,
In the water.
nope.
Yeah.
Right.
The hand in the water is getting wrinkly,
Right.
right? The hand above the water is not.
Okay.
If she was laying in the water, they could have told on the side of the face that was in the water how long she was in the water.
Okay.
Don't you think?
You would
Because
think.
there's a certain degree. If you put your hand in the water, it's not going to get wrinkly all of a sudden. It goes
Right.
slowly. Yeah. Can they just, somewhat calculate, like they can, they put a probe in your liver. Oh, the temperature is 25 degrees. Oh, he's been dead for 6 hours. You know.
Well, then that's my question: is why weren't they able to figure that out? Like, there's no information. Like, they don't have any of it.
Because
They can
apparently
tell you.
people.
Because they don't have
tell you-
education.
you know,
The coroner didn't know because he didn't know what to look for. For example, because
Then they
he
got
was
bad
elected.
people.
I mean,
I don't want to be mean and say bad, but they have very.
I'm not saying that
Poor.
but
I don't know. Something's not right here. Like,
No, and that's
This
what
is-
like
something's not adding
there
up.
is
There's
like,
a-
inconsistencies.
if there's a coroner's office in Huntington, Pennsylvania, yeah,
Right.
and you get murdered in between Huntington and Altoona, yeah, Huntington coroner says a suicide,
Right.
and then Altoona coroner says homicide.
Yeah. No,
What's
I mean you have
homicide?
that with a lot of investigations where
Okay.
they pick something else out.
But if you have to study, yeah, if they have studies, like for to be a coroner,
Right.
then that shouldn't be a bigger difference. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm not
So,
arguing.
I mean, like going to the doctor and say, oh, you got pneumonia, and the other one says, oh, you know, he was just a big toe horse, he was a cracker. You know, they always, maybe not exactly, but they always.
Right.
yeah,
put
they
together.
still went to medical school, though.
Yes.
Maybe the one just
Yes.
didn't study.
right.
So, but yeah,
It's
but,
hard, but he still passed medical
but yeah,
school.
I mean, the coroner could be completely wrong. Or even the sheriffs of the people who discovered her. You know, maybe there
Okay.
was a leaf on her face, but they couldn't see a body or they couldn't see the face, so they removed the twig or the leaf or whatever.
Oh, so mishandling of the crime scene.
Mishandling of the crime
No,
scene.
I think we should find out. You're wrong.
No, but
We're gonna drop you and see how you line up.
Yeah, we're gonna test your theory, okay? Put you into shock and see how you last
How much
out.
do you weigh?
135.
What was it? How long did he have to be in the cold? Was that like minus 30 for like 2 minutes?
Maybe. We'll test it.
We'll have
Get in
to-
the water. The pool
It's just
outside.
now.
The pool's
No
probably
question.
cold. Go get in that.
And you know what the worst part is? This is not the first time you guys talked about killing me.
I mean, you're giving us opportunities to experiment.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like-
whatever, if that makes you happy. I mean,
I mean, we did talk about being in the FBI, so
no, I didn't say FBI.
I said FBI.
FBI, but, you know, mishandling of the crime scene.
No, I
Maybe there was some blood on a twig, yeah? You know, forest, a lot of twigs. The people who found them stepped on the twig, blood is on the
Okay, if there was blood on the twig, then there would be.
There would be a wound
I
on
don't
her
know. I'm
body.
putting it's falling apart with just the corner because I'm putting a lot of faith that they're covering a body is not that big. I mean, yeah, you can lose spots, but
But you know how thin a syringe is?
yeah.
You can put a syringe everywhere and they can't even be traceable because if you don't... Okay, put it between my fingers. If I put, look 20 centimeters to the left, you won't find it. Or half an inch to the
Right.
left, you won't find it.
Right.
You have to minuscule check every inch of the body, every millisecond of the body before you can find a pinch. Because when the
Millisecond
body's
is a
dead,
time frame.
the
He means minuscule, but I know what he means.
minuscule,
Oh.
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I know what he meant.
But you know, when there's skin, when you're dead or dehydrated,
Right.
the skin shrinks.
No. Yes. No. Yes.
So the syringe can be, you know, a thin needle,
So you're thinking
but it's
that.
getting smaller, so it's harder to discover. So you actually have to. Could be that he was drugged, like she said,
Mm-hmm. With one of the drugs that would give you hypothermia.
or even there's some drugs that are undetectable in tests.
Okay.
Unless you specifically test for that drug.
Okay.
If you put it in the syringe and she dies, the skin shrinks,
Okay.
so you won't find the needle mark.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
And if you don't, and I'm going back to the corner, but if you have an electric corner who just went, just wash dishes at Waffle House, I mean, they won't look at that or miss it.
Okay.
Or, he's wearing glasses, but as you can tell, my glasses are dirty. What if he was wearing dirty glasses and that spot that was dirty on his glass missed that spot of the needle mark?
Or even if it was like a bruise or something that could have led to it.
Exactly.
Okay.
I
No,
mean-
I'll give you that.
I mean, don't get me wrong, but there are so many options.
I'm questioning a lot of things now in my life that I've watched that I've taken for granted. Like I've watched
Yeah, but-
CSI and all these other ones. I expect they talk about having all this experience and whatever. So
No,
I did not know that
Not
was
all
not
of them. not all of them.
I don't think
Then
there's
how is
anybody
it-
investigating mine. Well, maybe you can get away with a lot more stuff.
Yes, you can.
No, Dad.
But how do people get caught, man?
I was gonna say, then how do you get these serial killers that are caught and they were I found, because that's just it. You hear all these investigations. I found this hair or this eye drop blood here, blah blah
Like
blah.
I said at the beginning of this episode, in America, right now, I don't know what the number was, but what did I say? 100, 150 serial killers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Why are they not caught yet then? If everything was so...
True. No, true. Okay.
But 9 out of 10,
No, I'd-
9 out of 10 is also... They all connected together. Yeah? The police, the forestry, whatever, the corner, whatever.
Mhm.
They're all connected. Everybody is a link. Yes?
Okay.
If one messes up, yeah, instead of going left, they all go right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, agreed.
So, and it doesn't matter whether you go wrong on the top or on the bottom.
Right. No, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
You're enjoying this one.
no, but
No, you
it's just,
you are. You're.
It's just. What do I say? Think.
No, I'm not.
I mean,
No,
to
you.
me that's.
You got.
To me that's. I don't know. Say I'm enjoying this, but it's just.
You have a lot of information on it. I
What?
will say that you.
Like
got,
what?
Like the coroner information.
Yeah, but I'm not even from here, and I'm not even allowed to vote, and I know that.
What does that have to do with anything?
And I know that.
Okay.
You guys vote.
No, I don't.
No, he.
Okay, but
You don't vote.
everybody should know that. If you're allowed to vote,
Well,
if you can't vote, then
that-
everybody should know.
He doesn't. I'm giving him a compliment, and we're not even picking that up.
No, I mean, I don't like compliments. I don't want to hear it.
Okay, fine. Then you suck at this. Problem
Okay,
solved.
thank you. No, I don't like
I'm
compliments.
gonna go
we
back
will-
to insulting
We will
you now.
definitely. I'll have to stop there. That'll be our part one. What do you think? Because I do have more. There is more. There's at least 6 more missing persons in there. That's only 3
Do we
so
think there's
far.
a possibility it could be something like possession?
I
that could have
I
happened?
literally I have no clue. I am a blank
what-
slate on this one. I
But
have
what
nothing.
people forget about too, okay, you can have 300, 500 people looking for that woman, yes?
Right.
But the more people you have, the more things can go wrong.
True. Yeah. You can have more things disrupt the investigation. Yeah. Right.
So, one person who looks over here, one person looks over here. That person says, oh, I looked already over there. It won't go there because it will go to the next section. Well, in the meantime, this guy meant, oh, I went, instead of, I looked 20 feet from
right,
from
and then,
here, I
and
only
then
looked.
from behind, you're taking that. Well, I sent a dummy check. It should have been
Yeah.
checked, but we didn't actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then you miss stuff.
Okay.
I mean, you can be thorough as you want, but you're never thorough enough.
No, I agree with that. Yes. No.
So
Wholeheartedly.
you always miss stuff. Always. Always.
Okay.
Anyways,
I'll ask you again. What do
Sorry.
you think?
I think it's too early to tell.
You're going to sit on the fence for a while.
hmm
Okay. That's cool. Because, like I
Good.
said, there's more.
Yeah. It's too early to tell. It's either like an epidemic, old people getting hosed. Or there's some weird shit going on.
I promise you there will be some younger individuals that come up. They're not all...
It depends on what is your age group.
I mean, I don't know. So far, though, like, the youngest one's was 68.
Yes! Oh my god. They're ambitious old people, okay?
There's nothing
Are
wrong with
they?
an older.
Yes, think about what?
Literally, the first guy was in World War II. He's got one eye, half a hand. Like, yeah.
Be kind to the elderly, at least a little.
I've nothing against the elderly. I'm just... Something's not right here.
Dr. Bushaborki, what's his name?
Oh my god. Alright, that's going to be it for the episode. If you want to follow along, we will be doing at least a part 2, because the next parts I have, at least one of the investigations, it goes very in-depth. So, who knows? Maybe there will be a part 3 out of it. Again, if you like what you're hearing, give us a like, give us a follow. Follow us on our website, theunpackingitpodcast.com. We're on all of your podcast platforms. Follow us on Instagram, and you can send us an email to theunpackingitpodcast@gmail.com. We will see you all next time, unless we go messing looking for these elderly people.
Or the midgets.
Or